It is 9:38 on News Talk 820 AM, 96.7 FM, WBAP. Well, we're talking a lot about international leaders. Talk a lot about our own national leaders. Talking a lot about governors. I'll tell you what let's do. Let's spend a little time thinking about a mayor's race, the Dallas mayor's race. Tom Leppert coming out pretty well now. Going to focus on that Senate bid. We'll see how that all works out. That creates a vacancy. Who ought to succeed Tom Leppert as mayor of Dallas? Former police chief David Kunkle says, "I'd like you to consider me." So let's chat with him. Is chief still appropriate? What, Mr. Kunkle? What should we call you?
Well, David is good for me.
David works well.
Most people still call me chief.
And I think that's something you properly carry around. And let's go right to that. Is there something specific about your years in running the Dallas Police Department that you think gives you a special resume page on being mayor?
I believe it does. Being the Dallas police chief is one of the most difficult public sector jobs in North Texas and maybe the country. And by all accounts, I did it very well and made changes that people didn't believe could ever happen. But beyond that, I had the opportunity to be in every neighborhood in the city and know people and build relationships and build trust, and they know who I am. And I had always had very good support in the southern sectors, which are primarily African-American Hispanics, as well as the wealthier communities and middle-class neighborhoods.
Let's go right to some things that you've said on your own website. One of the pledges you've laid down is you're not going to raise taxes.
Yes.
How do you not do that in a cash-strapped city?
A couple of things, Mark. One is to make the city more efficient, and there are management techniques being used and proposed right now in Wisconsin and other states, programs like Lean Six Sigma, which analyze every part of government. The state of Texas Sunset Commission approach is a way that can be done, but essentially squeeze more efficiencies. But as important as that is to look at every activity the city of Dallas is involved in and only do those things that are most critical and invest in those things, and then things that are less critical, quit doing, outsource, or find some private sector type solution.
These sound like fairly conservative things. I've heard you sort of cleave to the delicious, non-ideological nature of the Dallas mayor's job. You don't run as a Republican. You don't run as a Democrat, really. But we learned pretty early on that Laura Miller was pretty liberal and that Tom Leppert is pretty conservative. What are you?
Well, I would argue I'm the party of good and honest government.
Everybody's the party of good.
I understand that. Maybe this has gone out of vogue, but maybe a compassionate conservative would be a fair description. But I found that conservative candidates are conservative on some issues, and other issues, such as how public money is spent, they may be very liberal. So I don't know that people fit in the little buckets at the end of the day.
A lot of anybody running for mayor is going to be asked to tackle the I was going to say perceived. It's very real. The north-south divide. The Trinity River seems to be almost not a Mason-Dixon line or a Berlin Wall. I mean, choose whatever metaphor you like. Are there two Dallases, and what do you do to bridge them?
There are two Dallases, and I think now they're divided less by racial issues, but more by economic issues. That there's just such a difference between the wealth and the economic activity and the retail shopping that you see in the northern part of the city compared to the southern part, and that is a challenge that has to be addressed.
What's been your overall review of the Tom Leppert term?
I think that Tom Leppert was a good mayor for his time, but I believe we're in a different time now. I would argue
he's mayor now.
Pardon me?
He's mayor now. What's so crazy different about 09 versus?
Well, no, I understand, but I understand that he is resigning today. So if that is true, then he will be a former mayor in a few hours.
That's right.
But I would describe Tom Leppert as a mayor of big projects, and I think enough of those big projects have been done. I want to be the mayor that makes the city more livable, improves our lives, our neighborhood. I was staggered when the census numbers came in, and the North Texas area was the most prosperous area in the country over 10 years and grew by 1.3 million people. But the city of Dallas only grew by 9,000, which is a fraction of a % increase from where it was. And if you look at those numbers, Dallas is going to have to do things different, or we could become the donut hole in the center of a great, prosperous North Texas metroplex. But the city of Dallas doesn't, and our residents don't benefit from that.
David Kunkle with us, and the website is davidkunkle, KUNKLE.com, davidkunkle.com, former police chief running for Dallas mayor. You mentioned Mayor Leppert as the big projects guy. If there's one big project he'll be remembered for, it's the big hotel that some taxpayer money went into. Was that a good idea?
Well, it's a good idea now because it's built, and whoever gets elected mayor needs to make it work. Otherwise, the taxpayers will have to bridge the difference. So, as a city of Dallas mayor, that the hotel is a good idea, and it's got to be marketed and made to be successful. I'm reluctant to have the private sector get in areas, or the public sector get in areas where the private sector is operating, because it seems to me to balance, it makes it the competitive environment less fair and just the risk to the taxpayers.
Is there anything you and I have talked about so far, and if not, feel free to bring something up, that's a big difference between you and City Councilman Ron Natinsky, who's your chief rival?
I haven't talked to Ron Natinsky about his position, but from what I read, he thinks things are going great and wants 4 more years, and I wouldn't be running if I thought things were going that great. I believe that Dallas has great opportunities, but we're also at a point that we're going to have structural budget deficits and difficulties managing the budget and making choices, and I don't think the city has worked very well for the people who live in our neighborhoods. I think they're overtaxed and underserved, and to a large degree, people have voted with their feet and left the city of Dallas neighborhoods, and that's not a good thing to happen in a city.
Are we okay for the next few months in the clutches of Dwayne Caraway as Tom Leppert leaves to run for Senate?
I think we are. I know Mr. Caraway, and the one thing with the Dallas mayor position, there are so many controls as far as there's very little you can do unless you can get 7 other people to agree with you. So he's going to have, good mayors have that same problem, and everybody has that problem.
I've got to ask, key to the city for Michael Vick, good idea, bad idea?
That's a bad idea.
Okay, moving on. How's the money thing? I think the way the field is striped, I think Mr. Natinsky has some fundraising apparatus, probably going to have some more money than you are, but that's not always what determines how things go. So how goes the fundraising, and sort of what's the strategy here leading up to May 14?
Well, I need to put that in context, Mark, but I did not even give it one bit of consideration of running until January 31st. And so there was no preparation as far as building a fundraising mechanism, developing platforms, putting a campaign team together. So everything's been done on the fly, but the money's been coming in at a good rate, and I probably need to promote my website. It's davidkunkle.com because people can donate through it. But we're doing well in the fundraising, but I always anticipated that the other guys would spend maybe 10 times as much money as I spend, but thought I could run as effective a campaign.
Mr. Natinsky got something else the other day that made some people go, huh? He got the endorsement of the Dallas Police Association. How'd that happen?
Well, I don't really know. They endorsed before any other candidates were in the race, which I don't think is, I would at least want to know what my choices were. But beyond that, the Dallas Police Association is a union, and I did disagree with them on many points, and history has shown me to be right and them wrong. And so when I came to Dallas, I wanted to do the job in a way that fundamentally changed the department. And I guess the other thing with the DPA, as I always told them, they only represent a single constituency, their members, and I represented everybody.
Is this one of those examples, as you'll find in public and private life, where it's a union leadership decision, where it may or may not necessarily reflect the way the rank and file feel?
I would argue that. I know that I have a lot of supporters, friends, people who've made donations to my campaign who are Dallas police officers. So I think as far as chiefs go, I was probably about as popular as you'll find among the rank and file, but you do things that create enemies.
The website is David Kunkle, Kunkle, davidkunkle.com, and we'll be chatting early and often. You and Mr. Natinsky to be on the phone, listen, in person with us. Let's do some in-studio chats with calls and more details. We look forward to those as well.
Hey, Mark, you got a second?
Yeah, sure do.
Okay, well, I did want to thank you for all the work you did with the Friends of Dallas Police. I know your listeners probably know, but I believe 15 years in a row, you never missed one of those functions, and you always did a great job. And the other thing, just to let you know that I know I was wrong, about 20 years ago, you and I had a debate over right to carry, and like all my police chief colleagues, we thought it would be a bad idea, and you and I debated that, and you were right. I was wrong.
But you know what? I want to go to bat for you. I can't believe you're bringing this up. It was where was it? It was at UTA, right?
Yeah, it was at UTA.
And I felt the entire time that they went looking for you. And what were you doing at the time?
I was the police chief in Arlington.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of got drug into that.
Exactly right. I think you were involved in it. Okay, bottom line is, you're going to tell the story, we'll tell the story. Chief Kunkle and I debated the gun control. And I'm very suspicious of gun control. And I think that you're a law enforcement guy, obviously. And I think that you were engaged in sort of an intellectual exercise. I mean, I'd like to think that I could sit down and debate either side of any debate, of any issue, just from knowing what I know about it. I never felt like your heart was in that. And I probably forgot about it like 3 days later.
Well, I don't understand, but I think those kind of debates are good in vetting of public policies, and a lot of times you don't know how they're going to turn out till you look back over years, but that was a public policy that was the right thing to do.
Sure.
Well,
I felt even walking out of the room, I thought, you know what? I think this guy's probably a lot more, Second Amendment friendly than this led on. I'll tell you what, as we part company, though, legislature looking at letting people do some conceal and carry on college campuses. On board with that?
That concerns me at a certain level, but it probably is not going to create harm, and I would probably be on board with it.
All righty, just got out in time. Listen, Chief, I look forward to talking to you some more about any issue, and thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Mark.
DavidKunkle.com, David, Kunkle.com. Chief Kunkle, bless his heart, just can't get past that. It was like 1996. All righty, how'd that work out for you? Your call's next. These and other issues, Mark Davis on BAP. Here comes traffic. Here's Tiffany Reynolds.
Well, Mark, we do have a new accident to tell you